What has happened is, months ago, faced with a very large, faced with two things. One was the ramp up before we levied the new fee structure. And our DPPOA money was going down rapidly. And not knowing what would happen when we went to the new fee structure, we were in a strong belt-tightening mood. At the same time, I don't have it on me.
The insurance.
We got the insurance, and we had, the decisions were made even before we'd gotten the money for the insurance. We put in a claim for $7,500. I had to go with Rhea to a court hearing for the person who hit the sign with her car. Her lawyer was trying to, my father used to say, chisel the amount down of damage so that there wouldn't be so much on her record, even though it wouldn't come out of her pocket, it would come out of our insurance, but he didn't want that on her record. So nobody quite knew what was happening. And so one idea that was floated was we would do as much of it as we could by ourselves. And Fran and Larry were asked if they could do something about the sign. And so, and then Larry went away for several months. And we had winter, and we had snow.
And to be outside.
Meanwhile, two things happened. Since we started getting our new mandatory assessment, people started paying, we were feeling more stable. And Larry was very busy when he came back. And we took the Leeson's Cove sign into Hilltop Signs to find out how much it would cost to refurbish it. It was $850.
For the little sign?
To repaint it, but it,
The Leeson Cove sign?
yeah, Leeson's
The Leeson's
Cove.
Cove, the little one.
So what happened was, and we had an old battered Leeson's Cove sign, and he started sandblasting it so he could put epoxy on it, smooth it out, prepare it for painting and so on, and decals. And he called up Rhea and said, this is really in much worse shape than I thought. But I can, for the same quote, replace the sign with a new one, which has been done. And Paul, from across the street, installed it. And it looks terrific. I almost got rear-ended because I was slowly driving past it for the first time to see it in place. I'd seen it a couple of weeks ago in Larry's truck, I guess. Well, Rhea, being the wonderful woman with initiative that we all know, called up Hilltop and said, why would, if this was $850 and the entrance sign is not much bigger, why is it $4,500? So he gave her a new estimate at $2,600.
2808.
After tax.
It's everything but installation.
So
The other one's another $6 to install.
all of this was going on while Larry was away. Larry came back, and I'm not sure what transpired. He's not on, he doesn't have email, or he doesn't use his email. He missed a couple of meetings. I don't know if he was aware that we're going on this alternate route, had been discussed with the board, but he went ahead and repainted the sign. Now, we we can let sleeping dogs lie and leave the sign the way it is, and have the electrician come in, and that's what, over $1,000?
Yeah, it says
What,
$890.
$890, including the permit?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's on the front.
Mhm.
Sorry, 890. So we can go ahead with that. And we'll have the light up and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, just as incidental information, I mentioned the whole thing to Peter Holt. I said, it might be nice if you thought about whether it's feasible to get a video camera for surveillance of that sign, because we've had a couple of incidents in the last few years where we've had to pay because people have taken down the electrical. And he advocates, no, let's see how the video situation is working at the beach, evaluate the whole thing, and then we can reevaluate the possibility of extending it to the sign.
Yeah,
Okay.
just follow.
So the question is what to do about the sign now. And before the electrical is done, it has to be straightened. And I'm going to have Rhea call Dustin and get an estimate for reestablishing the supports. It's not straight. Do you want to talk about it?
Well, I've inspected it several times because I've been over there doing other things. The electrical can be put back. It's sturdy, but it's tilted back from being run over by a car. And I don't know if you looked at the poles, but they're not straight anymore. They're like this. They're not square. They're not square with each other, or in the same position as they were originally. And the whole thing's leaning back. And that's going to be somewhat of a problem for the electrician to mount the lights, although I'm sure he can overcome it. And there was one other thing I was going to tell you about. I thought we were going to refurbish the sign, not just paint it. And refurbishing means putting it back where it was. And there's some chunks out of it that we had plans for using some epoxy patch and stuff, and that wasn't done either. So I think at a minimum, it needs to be put back upright. The new paint looks a lot better than it was before, but we had the money to refurbish the sign, and that's not what we have. What we have is a repainted sign.
We have more than enough money. We could replace the sign twice now.
Can we have a discussion of this, or do we have to have one of those crazy motions on the floor before we have to discuss?
Yeah, we can discuss it.
Well, I mean, my thoughts are, is the sign up on 4x4s? Is that what's bracing? What
No, they're pilings, 8 or 10 inch pilings, 4 of them, and they actually had rope around the top of them, which is now deteriorated and falling off. They were cut at a specific angle and set in a specific way so that the 2 main posts were upright on each side of the sign, and then the other 2 set back a couple of inches and sort of gave it a little depth
Perspective.
and then were cut at a certain angle. I'm pretty sure it all can be set upright again, and then well, throw some Saccrete or something in it to tap it in place. That's why I think that can be done by Dustin, because he does all of our street signs. He knows how to do that.
Yeah, and getting footings.
But the repairing of the sign itself is another story, because the sign itself has got a couple of chunks out of it. Now, if we're okay with that, and one would rather just kick the can down the road and come back at it in a few years, I don't know. We could talk about that. But we have a new sign could go right in that same space too. That's really what we're talking about.
Well, I guess on the one hand, we had Larry go ahead and try to repair it out of the goodness of whatever.
Right.
He did a good job of painting.
And I think that that's a very positive kind of gesture, and that's the kind of thing we want to try to encourage. Okay? If there are chunks out of the sign, I would be happy to come taking epoxy and fill the chunks, and I'll just take it out of my stash and wash it, put some epoxy and come and do it. But, you know, I mean, I guess I would kick the can down the road. I mean, if the sign is old and aging and it's just being held together by paint, I would just keep, you know, I mean, if all you want to do is have somebody come and straighten the sign and, and basically, come, and jack those, those pilings out, straighten them up and shore them up in some way. I mean, if that's the minimum, I would go along with the minimum.
Okay.
The other stuff to me is incidental, and I would like to continue to, as long as Larry is willing to volunteer to do stuff, I think we should make it possible for Larry to continue to volunteer and do stuff. Doesn't cost us any money. It still looks okay. If it's structurally sound, fine.
How would you handle the epoxy? Would you do it yourself, or would you do it with him, or what would you?
Oh, I don't care. All I have to do is mix it up with a bunch of, goop to make it, like peanut butter, and come on and just spread it in there.
Yeah, you can actually
just go in there. All I have to do is put wax paper over it, clamp it together, and
You can
you
use
won't
bond.
even see it.
There's lots of ways to go about it.
There are lots of ways to do it. If they're chunks, it's easy to fill the chunks. That's the way I repair
And Larry,
furniture.
I believe, has paid. The correct date, I should say.
That's the way I repair furniture, is I'll take out, if it's broken furniture with missing wood, I'll just go through and mix epoxy with sawdust, fill it in, and then just, grind it off and smooth it off the way it was before. It's a very simple task.
All right,
And if that's all it is, I would go.
That's what we talked about being done.
I would go for the path of least resistance in that
Okay.
one, but, that's my take on it. I don't know what anybody else thinks, but.
Well, I guess that's really the discussion. Does anybody disagree that we shouldn't straighten the sign up?
I would.
Yeah, I agree. My feeling on this is,
I think it's
I-
gonna be,
wait a minute, let's hear Dwayne start.
I think a lot about, okay, what is the community gonna say? And if we spend close to $3,000 putting up a wonderful new sign, invariably there's gonna be people that are gonna complain about us spending that much money on a sign. $2,800 sounds like a lot of money to me for a sign, even with the 49% discount, whatever it was. But if we can straighten out the pilings and refurbish the parts of the sign that need to be refurbished, I say, let's go that way.
Okay, I just want to mention one thing about we're talking about what to do about the sign that is not there yet. My feeling is that there's no problem in representing how much we're spending to replace the sign, because it all comes out of the insurance that we claim. And in fact, we told the community that we were going to manage, and the board on many occasions, we were going to manage things so we could also take care of the Leeson's Cove sign at the same time, which we will have done. Okay, I think the sign really has to be straightened. I don't think anyone's disagreeing with that. And have the footings properly cemented and get dusted in. Now, Rhea thinks it will be well below the amount I can authorize without needing a board motion. But I'm hearing more or less of a consensus that we should get the thing true.
Yeah.
At that point, I want you to know the two cross pieces that hold the actual boards that are the sign, something may happen in the course of straightening. So if you feel, Kurt, that you can get together with Larry and get those gaps filled, because it really looks like it's missing a couple of teeth.
Are we talking about chunks out, or are we talking about the gaps between the boards?
There are gaps between the boards. There are linear gaps.
No.
Well, that's
There's a
not,
strip that's missing on one of the boards.
and there's another chunk in another spot that
Yeah.
it's filling missing boards that got broke off in the accident.
Yeah.
I'll go take a look at it.
It's
As
not
long
that
as
big.
it's not, horrendous amount of, yeah. You can do filling with wood, and then you can, epoxy or fill over something like that.
It certainly can be done. I've done bigger pieces on the bases of columns that are rotted out, so.
The thing that
Which
worries me,
reminds me, I have to do that.
the thing that worries me is, one is a chunk about that long and that wide at points. There's another one that long and narrower. So it's gonna take a certain amount of epoxy artistry.
No, artistry's no problem, we just cut the wood to fill the gaps, and then we just fill it and put it in.
It's gonna get a coat of paint anyway.
All right, so it looks like what we're gonna do is, I will have Rhea engage Dustin. We'll get an estimate ahead of time. Unless it goes over the limit that I can spend, I think I should just go ahead and okay it, because he has the equipment. It's not like installing a smaller sign. Now, there's also some debris over there. There's something that looks like a ladder,
Well, that's part of the sign.
but it's not attached.
No,
What is
because
it?
it broke off in the accident. The
So,
sign's not back together the way it was originally.
so,
And also, we should, I guess the electrician might do this, but the support structure, which is a 4x4, for the sign light is not up either, so that needs to be done as well.
and that needs to be added?
At this point, I want to make a motion, because I think,
All right, go ahead.
well, I would move that we authorize the, RIA to spend up to $1,000 to put the sign back in the condition it needs to be, that is upright,
Structurally,
set upright properly with the wood structure for the lights and whatever miscellaneous materials, might not be anything for Kurt to get his work done. And if we have to buy paint, we probably won't, but just in case, up to $1,000 to put the sign back in fighting order, as it were.
Going paint, you need to cover that area.
I'll second.
It's porch paint. So,
I think that Larry's already got the pins.
yeah, so we got a second.
I'll
from-
second the motion.
Okay.
all right.
You need to discuss this any further?
Yeah, Aubrey, I cut you off before.
No, it's all right, I'm just saying, aye.
You're in favor. You're calling for the, do you need to say anything at this point?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Okay, well, and you'll,
This is.
somehow you and I and Rhea need to agree on structurally
I'll
what
consult with
those
Rita tomorrow, so
pieces.
she know what it is.
All right,
I'll go over and I'll measure the gaps and I'll see what cut stuff to fill the gaps.
okay, great, terrific.
Okay.
All right, are we ready for the vote?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're
Unanimous.
done with 5 minutes to spare. And I'm going off to another meeting.
I
Okay,
just
good.
wanna-
All right.
Move to adjourn.
Unless somebody has something
Well,
else.
we're adjourned, but I just have something to ask.
Yeah,
How
We're
much-
adjourned.
How much money did we get in the insurance settlement?
we got $7,500.
Okay,
And
so I'm just curious, out of that $7,500, we could take $1,000 out of that $7,500 insurance. My question is, the insurance settlement, is that gonna go into our, sort of like a general
General fund.
operating fund, or?
all right,
It already has.
all right,
It already has,
all right.
okay.
That's
That's
it.
my-
All
that's
right,
my
you're
question.
right. I shouldn't have adjourned so quickly. Let me.
We're not adjourned.
All right, let me explain what's going on here.
What's a false adjournment?
Sorry. I have to look up false adjournment in my Roberts
Oh,
rules.
okay.
Okay, we have another nearly $900 for the electrical.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
1,000, which we're going to spend anyway. And that's pretty
Wasn't that
well,
already approved
yeah, it was,
to do the electric?
right.
I think it was.
And we are going to spend up to 1,000 to get the thing trued, and get that debris off the ground or whatever it is.
We'll take care of that.
And I have been digging around there and severely pruning things, so I will need Larry or somebody with a truck to pick up the rest of the pruning, because I got an estimate which I brought to the board several months ago for professional landscaping services. And basically Max said I should go ahead and prune things myself and plant little bushes. Now, the bushes, I can cover, I don't need to come back to the board for that. They're missing,
How much, I mean, how much branches do you need to haul?
You could carry it over the woods.
Yeah.
what?
I've already hauled off 2 truckloads.
But that was, I think it'll be less than 2 truckloads. There's a 10 or 12 foot high, 2 10 or 12 foot high azaleas, which I will cut down tomorrow. Some more volunteer trees, little trees.
So you're basically taking all the plants out and you're gonna replant everything? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, well, a lot of them were pushed over.
You can prune the azaleas
You can
back.
prune azaleas back.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I'm pruning those, but they're missing things right under the sign. And,
Yeah, in front of the sign is a mess.
and there's also broken, masonry that should be
It's
hauled
been there
away.
forever,
So, maybe, I'll probably, do
right?
you
You
want?
know, if you just make a stack over behind the sign in the woods, at some point in time, one of us will come by and load the truck
That's
and take
right.
it somewhere.
Well, it won't be behind, there isn't
Well,
any
no, but
behind,
there
it'll be
is.
next to it, but anyway.
No, put it behind so people don't see it.
I don't wanna get into the poison ivy.
Okay.
It's coming
Are
out.
we done?
All right, so that's it. So I'll just go ahead piecemeal with the other parts, which are not all that great. And we have a decision, a plan.
Now we're adjourned.
Now we're adjourned.